At 1:32 a.m., radar operators aboard a United States Navy destroyer in the Strait of Hormuz detect a wave of contacts rising from the Iranian coastline. Then another wave. 96 inbound missiles, sea skimming, closing fast, every single one aimed at this ship. This is the story of how a massive missile attack turned into a devastating mistake, and what unfolded in the next 90 seconds would shake the entire balance of power in the Persian Gulf. The Strait of Hormuz narrows to just 21 nautical miles at its tightest point, yet nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply moves through these waters. Every day, supertankers, laden with crude and liquefied natural gas, form a steady procession, each transit a vital link in a global chain. Any interruption here, whether by accident, blockade, or attack, could send shockwaves through energy markets from Tokyo to London. United States Navy destroyers patrol this corridor with a mission that goes beyond mere presence. Their orders are clear: guarantee the freedom of navigation, deter hostile action, and provide rapid response to any threat. The Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, equipped with advanced radar and missile defense systems, operates as both shield and sentinel. Its sensors track hundreds of contacts at once, distinguishing merchant vessels from potential threats in a sea crowded with commercial and military traffic. The Fifth Fleet's forward deployment is not symbolic. Destroyers escort high-value ships, monitor shipping lanes, and relay data to a wider network of allied forces. The margin for error is razor-thin. Within 10 nautical miles of the Iranian coast, every movement is watched, every radar emission noted. The constant tension in these waters is driven by more than just proximity. It is the knowledge that a single miscalculation could halt the flow of 5 million barrels of oil per day, with consequences that would ripple far beyond the Gulf. For the crew on patrol, routine becomes ritual. Watches are rotated, sensors calibrated, and the Combat Information Center remains on alert, ready for anything from a distress call to the sudden appearance of an unknown radar contact. In this environment, the destroyer's layered defenses are not just technical systems. They are the final barrier between stability and chaos. In the world's most critical maritime choke point, Iranian missile doctrine is rooted in overwhelming force. For the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' Navy, a single missile is rarely enough to threaten an American destroyer. Their answer is the 96 missile salvo. Dozens of cruise missiles launched almost simultaneously, each one designed to swamp radar screens and exhaust interceptor stocks. This tactic has been drilled in the Great Prophet 9 and Great Prophet 14 exercises, where batteries along the coast and mobile launchers coordinate tightly timed waves. The goal is simple. If the first missile is stopped, the next might get through. By the time the 96th missile is in flight, defenders may be out of options. Authority for such a strike sits with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Navy Regional Command. Unlike Iran's regular navy, which waits for orders from Tehran, the Guard Corps empowers field commanders to act fast and independently. Orders can come from a bunker near Bandar Abbas, or a mobile post hidden in the hills. The command chain is fragmented by design, so if one node is lost, another can still give the launch order. This decentralization carries risk. A regional commander, working with partial information, can unleash a full barrage without waiting for higher approval. The 96 missile concept is not theory. In Great Prophet 9 and Great Prophet 14, Iranian forces showed they could coordinate mass launches from dispersed batteries using shore platforms, mobile launchers, and fast attack boats. Each battery holds 12 to 16 missiles, but synchronized across the coast, the Guard Corps Navy can reach the numbers needed to overwhelm even advanced defenses. In these narrow waters, the countdown to impact is measured in minutes. Missile launches on the Iranian coast ignite a chain reaction far beyond the horizon. The first warning reaches the destroyer not from its own sensors, but from space. The space-based infrared system detects the hot plumes of dozens of cruise missiles as they arc away from their launch rails. Within 45 to 60 seconds, infrared data is relayed to the fleet's tactical network, then downlinked to the Combat Information Center. At this stage, the warning is little more than a bearing and a probable launch zone. No precise tracks, only a sector flagged as hostile. Airborne assets close the gap. A P-8 Poseidon, orbiting over the Gulf, sweeps its radar across the suspected launch area. Over the horizon, returns confirm multiple fast-moving objects, each hugging the surface at barely 10 meters altitude. These contacts are fed through Link 16 directly into the destroyer's tactical display, providing early cues even before the ship's own radar can see past the curvature of the Earth. Inside the Combat Information Center, the data fusion team overlays satellite and aircraft reports onto the local tactical picture. The SPY series phased array radar is tasked to search the predicted approach sector. At sea-skimming altitude, the radar horizon is limited, typically 10 to 30 nautical miles depending on mast height and atmospheric conditions. As the first missile tracks crest the radar horizon, the system transitions from Q to direct contact. Track while scan locks onto the inbound wave, assigning each missile a unique identifier. The entire process, from initial infrared detection to radar acquisition, buys the crew critical minutes. With every second, the destroyer's layered defenses move from standby to full combat readiness. Survival aboard a modern destroyer relies on a layered defense, each tier governed by strict limits. At the center, the Aegis combat system directs the action from the Combat Information Center, assigning weapons to threats in real time. The first shield is the long-range interceptor tier, Standard Missile 6 and Standard Missile 2. These missiles can strike targets up to 130 kilometers away, but their numbers are strictly capped. Of the ship's 96 vertical launch cells, only about 30 are set aside for anti-air warfare during high-threat operations. The rest are reserved for land attack or ballistic missile defense, making every launch a deliberate trade-off. Once a cell is used, it cannot be reloaded at sea. As threats draw closer, the system hands off to Evolved Sea Sparrow missiles, ESSM. These medium-range interceptors cover about 50 kilometers and can be packed 4 to a cell, stretching the available firepower. But the magazine remains finite. When missiles breach this layer, the destroyer turns to soft kill measures. Electronic warfare suites launch Nulka decoys and Tuvide SLQ-25 Nixie emitters, flooding the air with false signals to confuse incoming seekers. These decoys can buy time or break missile locks, but their effectiveness drops as the number of threats increases. The last barrier is the Phalanx Close-in weapon system, a 20mm Gatling gun that fires 4,500 rounds per minute at targets within 2 kilometers. 30 defensive interceptors are all that stand between the ship and saturation. Every shot counts. Every second matters. At 120 seconds to impact, the Combat Information Center initiates the first wave of defensive fire. Standard Missile 6 interceptors leave their vertical launch cells in rapid succession, each assigned to a specific inbound track by the Aegis fire control algorithm. The engagement unfolds in tightly controlled intervals. At T-120 seconds, long-range interceptors streak outward. At -80 seconds, a second volley follows, targeting the densest clusters. Human latency is measured in heartbeats. 2 seconds for the watch officer to validate the fire order, a single nod to authorize release. Every launch is a calculated gamble, with the magazine shrinking as the clock ticks down. By -30 seconds, evolved Sea Sparrow missiles take over, their radar seekers searching for leakers, those missiles that slip through the outer layers. Models predict 4 to 6 will survive the gauntlet. The Combat Information Center team works with relentless focus, knowing that in this contest, survival is decided in seconds, not minutes. The moment of relief inside the Combat Information Center is cut short by a new report. One of the inbound missile tracks, previously flagged as hostile, does not match the radar signature of any known Iranian weapon. Analysts quickly realize that a software glitch in the track association algorithm merged a cluster of decoy contacts with the main salvo. The destroyer was not the intended target. Iranian batteries, operating under fragmented command and relying on electronic warfare spoofing cues, fired their entire arsenal at the wrong United States warship. Confusion rippled through both fleets. The IRGCN regional commander, isolated by jamming and denied real-time confirmation from Tehran, was left guessing whether the salvo struck its true mark. On the American side, the fleet commander faced a new dilemma. Retaliation protocols were now in motion, but the evidence pointed to a catastrophic misidentification rather than a deliberate escalation. With launch authority fractured and both sides bracing for the next move, the margin for error narrowed. In these waters, a single technical failure can transform a tactical engagement into a strategic crisis. In the Strait of Hormuz, seconds define survival, and miscalculation reshapes strategy. Every missile built, every radar calibrated, sustains a fragile balance. As tensions persist, deterrence depends not on certainty, but on readiness for the unexpected. In modern naval warfare, the margin for error is measured in moments.